I am speaking with John the Magician Dodson, fighting at RIZIN 45 on New Year's Eve. Another big fight and a really busy time in your career. And I wanted to start there, John. I mean, apparently you're 39 feeling fine and kind of busier than ever almost. I mean, you had a couple of BKFC fights, won the title there. Now your second RIZIN fight of the year. What is the secret to your success at this age? Because I think a lot of us would like to know.
Secret to my success is a whole lot of candy. I have kids. I need to keep on telling them that I'm immortal. And the one important thing is that time's not on my side. So I'm fighting against time. I'm trying to make sure I can go ahead and do everything super fast and cement myself as one of the greatest strikers of all time.
I love it. You have not apparently slowed down a step. In fact, it almost seems like you've picked up a step compared to when you first left the UFC. I mean, you kind of laid it out there. Time's not on your side, but I mean, do you like this pace?
Yeah, I love this space because I keep on bouncing back between bare knuckle and mixed martial arts. And if I could be able to go ahead and dabble and dip my toes into some boxing, I'll be down to do that too.
That would be very interesting. I'm gonna get to the BKFC stuff as well, but obviously the RIZIN fight is the fight at hand. Hiromasa Ougikubo coming off a couple of losses. Were you at all surprised at the matchup in this case?
I wasn't. I was actually really surprised, to tell you the truth. I was gonna sit there and say I wasn't, but this dude literally has been having my name in his mouth since I got in. Well, since I got signed to RIZIN, and every chance that he's got an opportunity to step before me, he's lost. He's standing in front of everybody, and they literally keep on sitting there saying that he can beat up me, and then all of a sudden he's getting his butt kicked by Horiguchi. Then got his butt kicked by Juan Archuleta, and he's telling everybody that he's the best flyweight in the world. Sorry to break it to you, but I'm already the best flyweight in the world, and I'm gonna go ahead and destroy this dude as quickly as possible so that I can get my hands on that title as soon as possible.
You mentioned Archuleta there, the bantamweight champ. More stuff we can get to later. But when it comes to Hiromasa, he did have that stint on The Ultimate Fighter. He actually beat the current UFC flyweight champion in Pantoja. How much of him have you seen, and just what are your thoughts of him on a fighter overall, as a fighter overall? Sorry.
I mean, I've watched a lot of his fights from him being from Shudo to Pancrase, Dreams, and Goku, and also on his stints on The Ultimate Fighter. He did some amazing stuff on there, surprising a lot of people, but he doesn't really surprise me. He's a whirlwind of a hurricane, of a clusterfuck, of a tornado, mixed in with an earthquake. But I am the ultimate deciding factor of Mother Earth, and I will destroy him left and right. No matter how well he wants to pressure with the grappling, I'm going to be better at it. If he wants to be in the scramble situations, I'm better at it. And we already know when it comes to striking that he doesn't want none of it. I'm going to destroy him and pick him apart left and right.
Well, no doubt going to be a great fight at a great event, New Year's Eve. That's been a bit of a tradition with RIZIN, and even going back to the Pride shows. Were the New Year shows in particular something you had watched, earlier on in your career?
Absolutely. I always wish to be a part of those rising or those pride cards because they were out in the same time arena. You saw how many people were there. And also it was like the Super Bowl for fighting. Like for mixed martial arts, that's where everyone wanted to be to go ahead and be highlighted on one of those shows. You got to be on them. That means you were literally at pretty much one of the pinnacle moments of your history.
And, going back to early in your career, I believe your second fight you fought in Japan. Now you fought your last three there. Have you had a chance to explore it a little more? How has the trips over been?
Oh man, it's always been so great. Like since it was a lengthy time in between the two, since I've actually gone from the first time I went to Japan to more recently, man, the times have evolved and changed. Like as everything else, like you go into new places, like the stint of 20 years, it was like pretty much a huge evolution change into everything. Where all the street signs and everything else is going through, technology has been such a blessing, and of the fact that they got more restaurants that they have there now than they did back then.
I actually lived in Japan in 2004, 2005. I can definitely feel the street signs thing. It was a little bit difficult to travel around sometimes. Love the food. You, of course, are going to have a weight cut, but I imagine after the fight, you can get to enjoy that.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as I get done beating up here in Masa, I'm going to go and enjoy as much as I can of some traditional ramen. Not so much on the sushi because I'm not a sushi type of person, but everything else I'm gonna indulge in.
Well, definitely enjoy that. You mentioned Juan Archuleta there, who Hiromasa fought recently. I'm curious, is bantamweight still in the cards for you? I mean, you mentioned you are the best flyweight in the world. Of course, you're going to look to prove that, but would you consider a bantamweight run still?
Probably a little bit down the road when I realize I can't make 125 anymore. Like I tried to do that within the UFC, and my heart wasn't in it. We can actually see me going in, winning some fight, losing some fights, and I just wasn't really committed to it. Like the 135, my 135 run up in the UFC was pretty much embarrassing. Like you can tell that I lost all interest of fighting. I was just doing it for a paycheck, and I've been reinvigorated going back to flyweight and showcasing my true abilities, my power, my speed, and the whole aspect of the entertainment that brought me to the big show.
What was it during that UFC bantamweight run then that kind of had you down? Was it just, coming up short in the title fight? Was it just where you were at in your career or unhappiness with the promotion?
Just I kind of felt disappointed and let a lot of people down because of the fact that I didn't win the. I literally had to got moved up into 135 after my loss to Demetrius Johnson, and they didn't want me to be a gatekeeper for who could possibly be the guy to beat Demetrius Johnson. Like if I would stay there, Henry Cejudo would have to fight me, and he would never even got the chance to fight DJ. So me moving up was like a big blessing for the weight division, and but at the same time, it felt like I was just like a washed up toy. So I was just trying to just want figuring out who I need to beat up. And even like in my previous, like my last fight, like I fought Marab, and that guy who just had a previous fight before me, he had set not even the bantamweight, the UFC record for the most takedowns. And then when he came with me, he had 24 takedown attempts and only secured one. So it kind of put a damper on their whole parade. I outstruck the guy, and then he just since he was going for more takedowns, so like, well, we're gonna give it to this dude just because he's more marketable than you. And I was like, all right, whatever.
Gotcha. Well, good to see you have the fire back. And obviously that has paid off. Like I mentioned earlier, the BKFC title, the inaugural BKFC flyweight champion, an accolade you claimed earlier this year. How are you finding the transition into bare knuckle fighting? And obviously, gloves aside, what are the key differences that you found in training between the two disciplines?
Tell you the truth, I haven't really trained anything different. Be honest with you, I continue being the exact same type of mixed martial artist that can translate it over into bare knuckle. Like I've boxed for majority of my whole career. I just turned my boxing into mixed martial arts, and then mixed martial arts is going back into my bare knuckle fighting. So it really didn't change. It just got evolved and picked up, and now I got to go ahead and use more of my distinctive tools in that dirty boxing realm with some more clinching and punching techniques.
So I guess the big question then is obviously you've captured the title. RIZIN's on your mind right now, but any inkling on when we might see you back in the BKFC ring for a title defense?
I have no idea, to tell the truth. Hopefully, as soon as I get done with this fight, we can go ahead and start actually crunching the numbers and see when will be the shortest time frame to get back into the squared circle. Because I want to stay super active, like we've been just talking about. I want to stay on the ball, trying to make sure I can get as many fights as I can get on the early card, like mid-February, mid-March, early March. I know I'm fighting on New Year's Eve, but early January would be good too.
I love the enthusiasm. I'm not going to lie. And with that in mind, then, and I just want to confirm, you're a pure RIZIN fighter. I know you fought on that RIZIN Bellator card, but you never had a deal with Bellator at any point, did you?
No, Bellator said I sucked.
You don't. I don't know
Uh,
why they would say
I,
that.
yeah, so that was suck. Literally, Bellator was like, "Yeah, you're not good enough to go ahead and be on our promotion." Same thing with ONE FC. ONE FC said they could never see me possibly go into that organization because I do not fit the criteria. So like, oh, fuck you guys too.
So I guess this kind of takes my next question in a different direction then, because I was going to ask if it would interest you at all. I mean, Bellator is now part of the PFL, but they're still going to stay around. RIZIN had that working relationship with them. I was going to ask if you would be interested in jumping on a Bellator card. Maybe not, but maybe a PFL card. Would that interest you?
I mean, I could always use $1 million. I mean, PFL, they always do everything so seasonal. If they did a flyweight tournament, I would guarantee you I would go win that one. And if they let me double dip, I'll do a flyweight and bantamweight tournament just for you.
Love it. All right. I'm going to ask you one more before I let you go, John, and I really appreciate the time again today. Just give us a prediction for this fight. New Year's Eve, RIZIN 45, the big show. How does this one play out?
Now, this one plays out with me just with my hand being raised. Be honest with you, Hiromasa is such a whirlwind of a fighter that we can not expect him to go ahead and try to finish me. He wants to try to ride out a victory by decision. So I'm going to go ahead and bless him with an early finish, whether it be a submission or a devastating knockout punch with my left hand.
Love it. Well, looking forward to the fight. Going to be staying up for this one with the time change. Best of luck in Japan. Looking forward to it. You have yourself a great day.
Oh, you too, boss. And thank you.
You're welcome, John. Have a good one. Peace.